The U.S. Embassy in Kyiv is expected to reopen for normal operations tomorrow. It was one of several Western embassies that closed today as Ukraine braces for a possible retaliatory air attack from Russia. Moscow has vowed to respond after Ukraine fired American-supplied ballistic missiles into Russia for the first time since President Biden approved their use within Russian territory. And now the White House has also allowed Kyiv to use so-called anti-personnel landmines. The goal is to slow Russia's progression into the Donetsk region. CBS News senior foreign correspondent Holly Williams is in Ukraine with more. Holly.
Today here in Kyiv, the air raid alarm sounded and sent us scrambling for cover in our hotel basement. We took the alert very seriously because earlier in the day, the U.S. Embassy in Kyiv announced it was temporarily closing because of a, quote, potential significant air attack. A Ukrainian military official told us they had information that Russia could try to strike the center of Kyiv with ballistic missiles. In the end, no missiles landed that we're aware of, but that warning today came after Ukraine fired 8 American-made ATACMS into Russia, according to U.S. officials. ATACMS are missiles with a maximum range of close to 200 miles, and their target was a military facility in the Bryansk region of southern Russia, according to the Russian Defense Ministry. Now, President Biden gave permission to Ukraine to use ATACMS deep inside Russian territory 3 days ago. Before that, their use was more limited because of concerns the powerful weapons could further escalate this conflict. The Kremlin, though, seems to be stoking fears of an escalation. Vladimir Putin approved a change in Russia's nuclear doctrine yesterday, lowering the threshold for a nuclear strike. A U.S. official called that, quote, irresponsible rhetoric. Back to you.
Williams, thank you. For more on this, I want to bring in now CBS News senior White House correspondent Weijia Jiang. So, Weijia, you just heard Holly talking about Moscow lowering its threshold for use of its nuclear arsenal. Is this at all possible, or is this really just a fear tactic?
Well, the Pentagon says that they were not surprised by this announcement. And just as Holly just mentioned, they described it as irresponsible rhetoric, saying that, this is something that they've heard from Russia before, but they do not believe that the U.S. has to change its posture right now. And they also said that they don't have any indications that Russia is preparing to use a nuclear weapon within Ukraine. So to answer your question, at this time, at least, they don't believe there is any intelligence to support that there is, a planned nuclear attack on Moscow's part.
And let's talk then about something that is going to be used, and that is the U.S.-supplied anti-personnel landmines. President Biden has just said it will be allowed in addition to those long-range missiles. Previously, as you are well aware, the Biden administration had hamstrung Ukraine in their utilization of these weapons. Why is the Biden administration lifting the lid right now?
So, Lana, the reason why there was so much hesitation is because the potential that these weapons could be dangerous to civilians. And the why of it all now is because the Pentagon says that Russia has changed its tactic and its offensive strategy. And so there are more foot soldiers than tanks on the ground now. And so this will allow Ukraine to be able to tweak their own and to deal with that offensive. And they add that, these particular mines that they are supplying, the U.S. will be able to control sort of when they self-activate and when they detonate. So they'll have an opportunity to make sure they do not harm the civilians that they were so worried about.
That's a very interesting piece of information there. Weijia, in the final moments we have, President-elect Trump has said that he will end the war quickly. Do we know anything more about his plans?
Well, he has said this multiple times, but he has not offered any clarity about how that would happen, because, of course, there are two parties that could agree to end the war, and that is Russia and Ukraine. Interestingly, though, the president of Ukraine, Vladimir Zelensky, also said that he believed the war would end faster under a Trump presidency, presumably because the U.S., as Trump has said, would stop supplying as much aid or any aid at all to Ukraine. And so, Trump wants to be able to broker some sort of negotiation, obviously, so he can say that he's the one that brought peace. But again, it depends on the concessions that both parties are willing to make in any potential agreement. And, Trump has not said how he plans to get them there.
And all these final moves setting them up to that eventual negotiation. Weijia, there at the White House. Thank you.